in this one, we're going to be taking a look at the bait crates, so the actual cop chasers that we get to see for the first time, some actual gameplay of it. Now, I did actually get to go and play this at Gamescom thanks to EA Ghost Games, and of course, EA Game Changers for flying me out so that I could actually go and play this. I did record my own footage, but EA have sent over some footage for me to actually go and break down, because obviously it's still early stages for this sort of stuff. They're still in crunch mode, so not everything's final, which is why I'm using this sort of generic footage that has been sent out to some of the YouTubers as well. Nevertheless, it's still some great footage, so we'll go through, we'll break it all down, and I'll tell you exactly what's going on from what I've played and everything else. So without further ado, we'll get into it. So straight off the bat, you can see we've got a bait crate on the right, and you literally just got to press RB or R1, whatever console you're playing, and you can just literally get right into the cop chase. Now obviously it's a bait crate, there's going to be some sort of valuable items in there that you can get, and then obviously the cops are going to start chasing you for that. Obviously the cops just come up straight behind you, and you can see the cops that we've got here are actually the chargers. So obviously these are going to be a bit more stronger than the Crown Vics, a bit more faster. In NFS 2015, cops were crap, let's be honest. They couldn't keep up with you, the AI was a bit crap. Even when you got to high heat levels, nothing was really happening too interesting. But as you can see, we've also got a takedown camera. Obviously he's just pitted in there, it's thrown him off to the side. Now this is pretty cool, but I think there are too many instances when this happens. Whenever you take out a cop, literally everyone you take them out, no matter how you do it, it will go into the takedown camera. So I think Ghost could go back on that a bit. You can see this M5 was nearly caught there as well. When they box you in. Now there is no sort of like busted meter like there was with some previous NFS games. It's just sort of like how intense it gets. You can see the blue and red flashing lights on the actual screen, and you can see when we get to a checkpoint, we also get the plus 28 seconds thing. So this is going to be, I presume it's like when you take down so many cops, like once you knock them out, depending on how many you take out, you're going to get more time to get away. You can see you've got a timer in the top left, and obviously that's going down. So the more cops you take out when you get to the checkpoint, the more actual time you're going to get for it. You can also see we've got a Pursuer's Wreck, so I presume that's going to give you an extra rep bonus at the end of it as well. And something I want to point out as well, the UI in the bottom right, it looks awesome. The rev counter looks pretty sick, but I don't think it's going to work very functionally for manual, because you can see it's like a bar that goes around, then it breaks up as you get closer to red line. But what the rev counter does is it just fills up this bar going around the circle. But you can see it breaks up a bit towards the red line, so you're not going to be able to see exactly where it is, and I imagine you're going to be staring at it quite a lot if you're in manual. But as always, it's not the final game. They're still improving things before it's released, so hopefully they'll fix that where it's not all broken up, and they'll change the UI on the rev counter there. Don't get me wrong, it looks great, but I don't think it's functional. Something I want to talk about as well is the actual M5 itself. It is a runner class. You can see it's not getting budged along too easily, and the runner class is a lot heavier, so you're going to be able to bash into cops, take them out a lot easier. It's a bit slower, but obviously you're going to be able to fend off the cops a lot easier. Now, how this is going to work with like a race class car, hopefully it's going to be a lot harder. So if the cops come on you and you're in a race car, it's going to be much more difficult to get away. They're getting into some good positions, they're getting ready to box, but they don't actually succeed because you can just sort of like shrug them off because it is a runner class. And you can see that cops just run straight into the M5, and he's just gone into a takedown camera because it's so heavy, and he's literally just rebounded him off. Now you can see on the actual cop cars as well, the UI above them, we've got like a shield obviously to say it's a cop. But we've got this bar which is sort of like a dashed bar. I presume that's like how strong the car is itself, so like its armor, and then the rest of it is just like its general health. Now I imagine like the rhinos, the big trucks that come at you, they're going to have like full armor, I presume, like to show how strong they are. And then like a Crown Vic probably has no armor at all, and it's just going to be a health bar. So that's a pretty cool feature, at least I think that's what it is. And we can see we've got more Pursuer's Wreck, so we wrecked 2 since that last checkpoint, so we've got an extra 45 seconds this time. But something I want to mention as well is the actual AI themselves. You can see they're constantly keeping up, they're getting into box positions, and something as well, like when they come up to cars, they can just completely avoid them, and they can just shoot off to the left. Like you can see this truck coming up, he makes sure that the cop doesn't hit it, and he uses you like to push you out the way and make sure that it doesn't hit that car. Obviously it didn't avoid it that time because you were able to, or the player was able to push that cop into the actual car itself. Now for like a takedown like that, I don't think there should be like those instances with a takedown camera. You should just like get knocked off, and it should just say Pursuer Wrecked rather than going into the takedown camera. Now something that I wanted in this game was the takedown camera going into slow-mo, seeing people wreck, but obviously with it being so frequent, I suppose in cop chases, it kind of takes you out of it. So for like the cool ones, were like the one at the start where he pitted him and then he started to roll. That was like a cool one, so that would be a cool instance for the takedown camera to be there. To turn it on and off, something that I'm not sure I would want to see. I think it should always be there, but only for like the cool takedowns that you get. How Ghost will be able to measure that, I'm not too sure, but hopefully they'll be able to bring in something like that for release. Anyway, moving on, he's coming up to the last checkpoint now as well. You can see him doing a drift, and that's something as well, the physics. I know a lot of you guys have complained about that with my raw footage from the race. I'll go over that in a separate video. I think it's massively improved as well. It's nothing like 15, even though it looks like it on video. Until you actually play it yourself, you can never really get to grips with what it's actually like. Now, I will go over that in a separate video, but anyway, moving on, he's got through the last checkpoint, and something I've just noticed, if you look on the map, the cops just spin out and they completely slow down. Now, this is because he's coming up to the final checkpoint as well, so this is obviously like a rubber banding thing where the game says, right, he's getting to the last checkpoint, fall back a bit and make it look like he's escaping, which is something I don't really want to see. Hopefully Ghost will change this as well. So like, hopefully when you get to like a certain point, I know in previous NFS games it says, right, escape the cops, get to a cooldown point. That is something I would like to see. So you get to the last point, you've got to go and find somewhere to get away. But there was in one instance when I was playing this bait crate where I was just going insane trying to get away from them. I was dipping between the different levels of the highway, I was going under bridges, and then the only way I could get away from them was by dipping onto the other side of the highway, weaving through all the traffic, managing to like budge them off to one side and wrecking like 3 of them at once. And then I had to go over like underneath this bridge, up a ramp and over onto like another highway, and then I finally got away from them without it actually doing this rubber banding thing where they actually fall back right at the end. So yeah, like I said, hopefully Ghost Games will implement something like that where it's not just rubber banding where they fall back, but something rather where you'll have to get to a cooldown point and just sit there and they won't be able to see and they'll just fly past, or something like that, to make it a bit more rewarding. It's not just going to be scripted where you're like, you know that if you do this bait crate and you've got enough time, you've wrecked enough coppers, you're just going to get away anyway. So yeah, nevertheless, still tons of great features in this. You can see at the end, you can get, you got like 130k rep. Obviously, I don't know how much rep you need to get between the different levels. And then we've got the speed cards, which the UI for this looks absolutely amazing. One of the best UIs I've seen in a racing game. You can draw a speed card. So this is all the different sort of performance parts that you can get for the car. And when you draw them, you can obviously equip it onto your car. So yeah, that is pretty much all for this cop chase. It looks amazing. The AI is super advanced. They can just dip out of the way of cars even if you try and knock them into it. They get into box positions really quickly. Now, they don't actually look like they can actually pit yet. I presume this is because in actual races that you don't want other online players or other AI to be able to just hit the back of you and spin you out. It's something to do with the collisions that makes it a lot more solid. Obviously, collisions on this game as well, they are a lot more planted than 15. They're not all glitchy and like all messed up. You can just hit a car and you can stay on your line and stuff like that, especially in the runner class car. It'll be interesting to see how racing classes and other classes will face off against coppers, especially a drift class. I imagine it might be pretty difficult to try and get away from them. If your tires spinning up all the time, they're probably going to box you really easily. Anyway guys, without rambling on too much, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Now, if you want to hear my opinions on the physics, I've been able to play the game quite a lot. I've got a lot to say about it to hopefully reassure you guys about that. Leave a like on the video if you want to see that one. And yeah guys, that's pretty much all for this video. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.